Well, that's a weird thing that people do when they have tons of money. They buy things that are illegal. Like they buy like Egyptian artifacts and stuff that was like pilfered from Iraq. You know, that was a thing with artifacts, like Sumerian artifacts from Iraq. Like when the fall of Iraq, once Saddam Hussein went down, a lot of that stuff was like pilfered and stolen.
One of my favorite stories when I was in Alexandria in Egypt, and we were going on tours around, and there was a garbage man because there were just antiquities everywhere. They're like in everyone's backyard in Egypt. It's just stuff you find when you dig, and it was like a burial site with tons of mummies in it, and that's what we were looking at. But the story is this guy who's a garbage man was taking the mummies out, and he was selling them on the black market for underneath all the garbage, and he got busted in his 80s because they were like, how is this garbage man like worth millions of dollars? Like, he got extremely wealthy, and it turns out he was on top of a whole, like, it was this whole, I don't know how many mummies were in there. It's just like one of those stories that stuck out to me.
How bizarre would it be to go over someone's house and they have a mummy?
And that's a crime. You know, in Egypt, you can't they don't want their antiquities leaving Egypt. They've lost enough.
Well, they've lost so much. That's what's so fucked in terms of Egyptian history, is that so many of those tombs have been raided over the years, and long ago, to the point where you're never going to find that stuff, and who knows where it is now. Who knows whether it's been melted down, the gold's been melted down.
I just wrote about this when I was in Egypt, and I was staying in Luxor, and it's right across from the Valley of the Kings. And I had it was one of the writing prompts, and the question was, do you believe in reincarnation? And I was like, I think I had like a past life regression in Egypt. But it was crazy. Egypt is nuts. Have you been there?
No, I haven't. I went right after the revolution, so it was empty. So it was almost like getting a private tour of this place that's generally filled with tourists. We had no line to see King Tut, no line to go into the Great Pyramids. It was like on our cruise down the Nile, there were supposed to be, I think, 100 and some odd people on the cruise, and there were 14 of us. People were like, why are you here? Because it was right post the Arab Spring. Oh my God.
And it was right after they had voted, so they all had their purple stamp on their finger, and there was all this optimism, and it was before they realized that, you know, it all kind of went back to normal, and they had to choose between two.
What is this, Jamie?
Never heard of any of these things. I found something that said they had unwrapping parties in Victorian times. Oh. So I Googled mummy unwrapping parties and then stumbled across, why did people start eating mummies?
Ew.
What?
So they would not only unwrap illnesses? Them, they would eat them because they thought that it would cure stuff.
What? The royal and social elite eating mummies seemed a royally appropriate medicine, as doctors claim mumia, M-U-M-I-A, was made from pharaohs. Royalty ate royalty.
Oh my God.
By the 19th century, people were no longer consuming mummies to cure illnesses, but Victorians were hosting unwrapping parties where Egyptian corpses would be unwrapped for entertainment at private parties. Napoleon's first exhibition into Egypt in 1798 piqued European curiosity and allowed 19th century travelers to Egypt to bring whole mummies back to Europe, brought off the street in Egypt.
They recently found one in someone's attic in England. That's how I
look at the picture. Scroll it. Look at that fucking picture. Oh God, that's so bizarre.
This is the most rich person shit I've ever heard.
God, that's so creepy. That's so creepy.
Yeah. So that's
dinner, drinks, and a show.
Yeah.
We're gonna unwrap the mummy after cocktails.
And eat it.
They found a head in someone's attic recently.
Whoa.
Yeah, because there was like a real big Egyptian kind of fetish that was happening during when they opened up to going into Egypt and exploring, and it became kind of all the rage, and I think in like European culture they became all obsessed with it.
When you went there, how many days did you spend?
God, I was there a little over 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. We started in Cairo and then stayed right by the pyramids and saw Saqqara. We went down to Luxor, took a there's tons to see in Luxor. Took a Nile cruise, which I would do again in a heartbeat. It was amazing. And you just kind of float down the Nile and then stop, and there are all these amazing artifacts that you stop and see and get off. And then we stopped. We went to Nubia and then flew down and saw the big. Oh, I'm blanking. The big Ramses. They're huge. What's the name of it? It's south. And then flew back and went to Alexandria, which I loved. There's just something very cosmopolitan about Alexandria, and we were with a bunch of locals. One of my mentors in Cairo was Henny, rest in peace. He was an artist and had all these young art students who lived in Alexandria, and they took us out and we played dominoes and like the Egyptian dominoes and the drinking tea, and went to this amazing Mediterranean restaurant and ate. There's just so much history there. It's so wild, and just Alexandria feels like one of those cities that's just been burned to the ground, and it's like Barcelona in that way.
Yeah,
and the crossroads of all the cultures mixing. It was. I definitely felt the most like oppressed as you have to cover up as a woman and keep a scarf on, and when you're going into certain places, and you feel that true kind of patriarchal society that exists.
Was it that way at the pyramids?
Yeah, I mean it's just in the air, it wasn't like, it was more so I think when we got into the smaller towns than it was in like the bigger city. Cairo's nuts. Cairo is madness. The people it's like LA traffic. It's just but crazy. People are driving everywhere. It feels very. At that point, too, there was no one really in charge, so it felt very crazy and lawless in Egypt at that time. It was